All right, welcome back to College Football Addiction. We got my buddy Jeremy back on here to talk about Friday night in the ACC. Jeremy, how are the vibes right now, man?
Well, surprisingly, first off, thanks for having me on the show again.
Yeah,
I,
thank
I
you for
love
being
it. It's one of my favorite things to do. And I'm not getting paid to say that. I promise.
here.
Uh, they're surprisingly well, and uh, I think you just have to take into consideration that this team has overcome a lot of adversity through the season already. We've had injured play. We started the first 3 games of the season without all of our offensive linemen intact. We've played really good against a majority of the teams this year. We've had I don't remember, and I would vouch to say this has never happened to us. Period. But to have 2 walk-off overtime winners to 2 teams that should not be able to. I mean, tell me how you would feel if I told you, look, TJ, Wake Forest and Tulane are going to beat you, but nobody else is going to be able to handle you this season. Would you think I was crazy?
Crazy a little bit, yeah.
Okay. Well, that's how it feels to get beat by California and Virginia for us. Um, and listen, I think it's cute when teams have good seasons and it's their best season ever and all that good stuff. But nobody, and I mean nobody on earth, believes that Virginia team is better than Louisville. Even though they beat them, it was a fluke. And obviously, flukes are a part of sports, right? It is what it is. Everybody gets upset um, at one time or the other. But there, there's nothing that you could say to me to convince me that they beat us that night other than the scoreboard, because it was our own mistakes that led to 14 of their points. But I digress. To answer your question, vibes are up, feeling pretty good. Still have a shot at a 10-win season, still have a shot at the ACC title game. Now, once we're out of that picture, maybe the vibes go down a little bit, but we still have a shot to make that because of the awesome and unique ACC tiebreaker system. So,
Which are insane. You know, I did some videos last year. SMU, Miami, and I think it was Louisville were all undefeated for a while in conference.
mhm.
Was it those 3 teams? I know it was SMU and Miami, but I think it was Louisville too. For a long way into the season. And I was doing like a weekly, like the SEC is pretty straightforward. Like it looks like A&M is going to be there, and it looks like Bama at this point, unless they drop one of theirs. The Big 12 is pretty straightforward. The Big 10 is very straightforward. The ACC, now they all have crazy tiebreaker rules, but just because of the way the games are shaking out, there isn't like, oh, these 1 or 2 teams are definitely going to be in it.
Sure.
And so I may bring that back. Somebody actually asked me this week to bring back the all right, we need the cheering guide. There's only 3 weeks left. We need to know like who to cheer for in this game, because like the tiebreakers and who you've beaten and the head-to-heads, and if 4 teams finish with the same record, like how does that shake out? It's all a nightmare. So anyway, you're right there. What big picture? What does Louisville need to do? What went wrong in the Cal game that has to be corrected by Friday night?
Well, it's like we spoke before the lights, camera, action started. It was one of those games you can afford to have an off night on one side of the ball. You absolutely cannot afford to have an off night on both sides of the ball, and that's what happened. Offensively, let's do defense first. Defensively, we contained them pretty well, except for one player who was doing the same play over and over. The Tecmo Bowl nightmare. It's like they have 4 choices of a play, and every time you think that you picked their play, that it's one of the other 3 plays, and it's not. It didn't feel like a very extensive playbook. It just they were able to identify a weak spot and attack. For that, I commend them. Offensively, it's just one of those that we were without our big play back. We were without the guy that made it easier on our quarterback because. And I've never really noticed this. I mean, maybe I have, and it just I'm a year to year guy anyway. I try to forget all the horrible things that happened the year before, but the, Isaac Brown absolutely made Miller Moss more comfortable. He was able to throw the ball a lot better when Isaac was there because the defense didn't concentrate on just the quarterback, right? And that's what they've been doing. And that was our downfall. That's why we only passed for, I think Moss passed for like 200 yards, 220 maybe. I don't recall. Um, and I know people are going to say, well, your all's backup running back did pretty well. Well, yeah, but he's our closer. We didn't have our starter. We didn't have a closer against California because we went away from the run and started throwing it more, which caused our fine QB to make more mistakes. So uh, it's just really at this point it's a grab bag, and I know that you hate to say that with Clemson and SMU. There's another loser team at the end. I don't remember what they're called, but you can't just go. You cannot. I don't care if Clemson is 1-9. When they step on your field, you are supposed to respect them, and they're going to try to intimidate you. And heck, even with them at 4-5 and only averaging 27 points a game, I'm still worried. Is this going to be really 4-5 Clemson come in, or are they going to come in national champion, beating on their chest, and just blow the doors off of anybody they want to at any time? Honestly, I don't think they're that much better than Florida State. And I'm not saying I don't think Florida State's good. I think they're right around the same caliber of a team, and it sure didn't look like it.
Yeah.
So so I'm hoping that our biggest thing is that defensively we've got to do better at covering the pass. Our secondary, which has been solid all year, has to do better. We cannot allow what happened the other day to happen again. He's not 67% accuracy. He's thrown 5 picks. He's only thrown for he's only averaging 237 yards per game. The offense is committed 10. They're averaging about a turnover a game. But here's the thing: the thing that worries me about Klubnik is that he has got that big play potential.
Yeah.
He's got 3 wide receivers that their longest touchdown catches of the year has been 64, 70, and 75. And I believe that is Williams, Wesco, and Moore that all have the long touchdown. So that's I'm not really worried about their rushing attack. Their leading rusher's only got 570 yards, and their second leading rusher doesn't have a touchdown. Their third leading rusher is their quarterback, which has like 479 negative yards rushing. So, and our strength has been the run defense all year. So I'm not really worried about that, which means if you're a Louisville fan, they'll run for 200 yards against this game. But and I'm okay with that if that means that we shut down the passing game. But yeah, we just got to lock down the receivers. We cannot let what happened the other night happen again. The quarterback, kudos to him. I've watched him play from California. I watched him play a couple other games this year. Mistake prone. I would have never in a million years guessed that he would have had that kind of performance. But I guess if you're throwing to an open guy every time, it's kind of hard not to have a great performance. So shout out to him for having the game of his entire life this past week. Can't let that happen again.
I don't want to take anything away from Clemson's win against FSU, but they've played the better game for sure. But the opportunities for FSU were certainly there. And I think Florida State just didn't capitalize on them. You think about the score was 18-7 at the half. I will get right back to the video, but first let me give some love to our friends over at Sleeper. We've told you all season, you need to be on the Sleeper app, whether you're checking scores, whether you're playing the more or less game to make some money with us on the Power 2 on Wednesdays. Get over to the Sleeper app right now. Use our code CFA for a 100% match up to $100. Terms and conditions apply, so check their terms of use for more details. The Sleeper app is where you need to be as this college football season wraps up, and the Power 2 is where you need to be so that you make some money with us on Wednesdays live at noon. Florida State missed a field goal, so call it 18-10. Clemson did nothing to keep Florida State off the board there. It wasn't blocked. It wasn't tipped. They just missed a field goal. Wasn't a bad snap, just missed. So call it 18-10, right? Clemson played what? Florida State fumbled inside the 10-yard line. It wasn't a strip. It wasn't a guy coming off the blind side. They just mismanaged a handoff. I don't want to take it away from Clemson for falling on that ball. Congratulations for falling on it. But if Florida State doesn't fumble a handoff, at the very least, they get another 3 points there, right? And maybe get 7, which would make it 18-13, right? Or 18-17 if you get the touchdown. Clemson didn't do anything to get that advantage, right? And then on the 4th and 1, Florida State dropped a wide open pass to maybe their second best pass catching target, who was on the 50-yard line with nobody within 20 yards of him. At the very least, I think he gets them into field goal range. Now, again, you wonder, does he make the field goal, miss the field goal at that point? He drops the ball wide open, and that takes 3 points off the field. So it very easily could have been 18-16, 21-18 Florida State on mistakes that Florida State made in the first half that took them out of the game. And that's not to take anything away from Clemson. They did enough, and maybe if it was 18-16 or 18-21 at half, maybe Clemson doesn't take their foot off the gas in the second half. Maybe they still win anyway. But to me, Clemson is very gettable. They took advantage of and benefited from a lot of FSU mistakes. When Florida State dropped that 4th down play, Clemson scored 2 plays later because they got a short field. And I don't want to take anything away from the Tigers and just sound like a salty fake, because they were better. But I think a lot of what they did was they capitalized on Florida State just continuously shooting themselves in the foot. Very obviously, if Louisville does the same thing and fumbles inside the 10-yard line and misses field goals and drops big plays wide open on 4th down, there was another play where Florida State had the defender beat by 5 yards and just completely sailed the ball over Squirrel White's head. If you hit that guy, he's got 5 yards on the defender. He's the fastest guy. Well, he's the second fastest guy on the team. The track star is pretty fast, but that's a touchdown, right? So you're talking about another 7 points that, like, Clemson got beat a lot and Florida State just couldn't capitalize on it. Now, all that said to say this, if Louisville can make the simple plays, a handoff is not a tough play. That's not a hard play to make. A wide open catch when nobody's around you within 15, 20 yards, that's not a hard play. That's not you ain't got to go moss somebody or juke 4 guys out of a hole. If Louisville can do those simple things, I think they very much can have success in this game. If they shoot themselves in the foot, like Florida State did, like Louisville did against Cal, then yeah, they'll have a tough time in this. I think Clemson, it's very, very important for Clemson to start out in front in this game. They don't play especially well from behind. They did come back a little bit against Duke, who, again, Duke lost to UConn this week. I don't know how much credit you want for coming back against Duke, but I think if Louisville can get out early, similarly to how they did in the Miami game, which I know a lot of people watch that and they're very familiar with how that game went down. If they can get out early at home, we could get a repeat of how this game went down last year. If you make mistakes early and you don't get up on them, Clemson likes to play from out in front. Everybody in the country likes to play from out in front. Nobody wants to have to come back. But I think it's really important. The two biggest thing to me is Louisville can't shoot themselves in the foot like Florida State did last week and give Clemson those extra opportunities. And then they can't start slow. Florida State was down 18-0 in this game. They scored right before halftime, or else all the FSU fans would have just left and said, all right, enjoy the rest of the night. But it took Florida State 28 minutes to score. And Louisville can't do that. And I doubt they will. It felt like they were so methodical. It felt like, I don't want to say the staff like looked ahead, but you almost wonder, like, you would think that Brahms got more kind of in his bag ready to go for this Clemson game than maybe he thought he would have to pull out for that Cal game. I expect Louisville to start well in this game. I think the loss kind of refocuses them, and I do think they'll start well. So those are my overall thoughts on the game.
What bothers me, and this may not, obviously we're giving our opinions and stuff here. So what really concerns me is it feels like this team kind of plays with its food at times, and we've not necessarily started off really hot against the I don't want to say the bad teams, because I mean everybody's trying their hardest, but the teams that are not as talented, and then we pull away, and we did it with a variety of teams so far this year, with Virginia Tech, Boston College, to name a few. So what worries me is the perception that Clemson's not a good team. And you said earlier, I don't want to rag on. We're going to completely rag all over Clemson today. That's what we do on that game week. But and then we play really well against the Pittsburghs and the James Madisons, which I think, and we may talk about this another week, I think that the committee ranking Pittsburgh and James Madison actually says that they have a lot of respect for Louisville because they just made Louisville only the second team by ranking those two, which they deserved. It's not like they ranked them only because of this, but Louisville's like one of two teams that have 3 or more wins versus the current top 25. They're 3-1, undefeated on the road this year. You'll hear that a lot. It's a little misleading. We only play 4 road games this year, and I believe we've only played 2 on the road so far this season, being at Pittsburgh and at Virginia Tech. But we have got to find a way to redefend home field, because to have 2 walk-off losses at home in overtime with a guy like Jeff Brom at the helm, you can't do that. He is so talented. He's got the talent on the field. It's just it's frustrating, but there are still scenarios, especially like I said, the committee did us a solid. They didn't drop us too far. I thought for sure they were going to drop Louisville out of the top 25. The AP, I don't, not the committee, but the AP and the coaches, they only dropped us like 4 spots, in each 4 or 5 spots. That showed a lot of respect, but you had to do that because you couldn't rank Pittsburgh and James Madison for the first time and to be like, well, they lost to Louisville, who we just dropped out of the top 25. So starting to see a little bit of conference love, which I appreciate that. But look, we have got to battle with these guys. With Isaac Brown in the lineup, we don't lose to California. We don't lose to Clemson. We don't lose to SMU, and we don't lose to that team down the road either. We're going to have to figure out a way to work around that. We have to be more balanced. We can't just run in the first half. Key One had 120 yards or 115 yards at the half, only ended up with 133 because we stopped running the ball, and we willingly put the ball in the hands of our quarterback, who has, for some reason, Miller Moss is a. Here's what I want to say. I know you didn't ask me about this. The narrative around town this week has been, oh, we've got one of the worst quarterbacks we've ever had at Louisville. Okay, that's a little much. I could name 10 right now that are worse. I won't do that because some of them are my friends, and I wouldn't do that to them publicly. But here's the thing. He's got every single tool that you want in a college quarterback, except for he gets frazzled really easy. I have predicted once I saw him through the 2 interceptions against Eastern Kentucky, he showed me a tell. I'm not going to tell everybody what it is because I don't want anybody else to see it and be like, oh, well, but I predicted his last 4 interceptions because I saw him do something. 3 of them were right after penalties. So he felt like being in third and long, he had to hurry up and do something that he wasn't equipped to do. If he can just calm down, and I know we're too far in the season to be like, well, maybe he'll get better. Quarterbacks are fickle positions. All they may need from time to time is one little thing to start to go right, and their whole demeanor can change. I think Miller Moss is a good quarterback. I saw him throw for 300 yards against Pittsburgh. I saw him throw for 300 yards against James. Was it James Madison? Whoever was. Oh, Bowling Green. I saw him throw for I saw him do what he needs to do. He has to, point blank, Miller Moss has to step up this week for us to beat Clemson. It doesn't matter if Clemson's 0-10 coming into town, 10-0, 4-5. You have to take them serious, or you're going to end up losing the game. And if you lose the game at this point, you might as well get ready for the Fenway Bowl.
Yeah, I mean, Louisville needs some help. Just looking at the standings and what needs to happen ahead of them, they need some help to get back into it. But again, it all kind of starts this weekend, right? Like all the help you might need doesn't matter if you don't take care of business against Clemson and then subsequently next week against SMU. I'm leaning Louisville here. I don't know what my confidence level is super high. But I do like Louisville here. I think they rebound from last week. Again, I think Clemson is still not great. They're very capable. I think if Florida State just doesn't shoot themselves in the foot, that game is kind of down to the wire and then could go either way. So I like Louisville in a 27-24 win. Do you have a score on this one?
I do, and it's pretty close to yours. I have 31-24. I don't have. Okay, so I truly believe Louisville will win this game, but if Clemson wins, I think it'll be 31-24. Louisville leads the nation in most consecutive games, scoring 24 or more points. I think it's like 25 straight games. It's something like that. I like to guess a lot when I'm on your show because it's more fun that way. But I think it's going to be 31-24 either way. I think that the crowd, no, it's going to be 31-24 Louisville. The crowd's going to be juiced. We're honoring probably the greatest wide receiver in Louisville history, Arnold Jackson. Thankful, he was my teammate at Louisville. We're honoring him at halftime. He's getting his jersey honored that night. And I know you didn't ask about this either, but you know me, I'm going to tell it anyway. Arnold has school records here at Louisville for career receptions and receiving yards, the leading receiver in Louisville history, third in touchdown receptions. Dude, he was a dude that every time you punted the ball to him, he could return it back for a touchdown. He just a special guy. He was the first Action Jackson in Louisville history, and definitely not the last Action Jackson in Louisville history. So that's going to have the crowd's going to be hype off of that. It's Clemson, and anytime you can beat a Clemson, whether it's a good Clemson or a bad Clemson, it's still at the end of the year you can say, we beat Miami and Clemson, and your average, your I watch football every once in a while. Guys will be, oh, y'all beat Clemson. Well, y'all must be y'all got to be legit then. They don't have to know that Clemson sucked eggs this year. They don't have to know that. I won't offer that to them either. But it should be a good time. We should have the victory. If we don't win, then it's like I said. You don't win, you don't have to worry about the playoff. We don't have to post any more playoff prediction posts or anything at cardinalsportzone.com. You do win, and that wacky tiebreaker system in the ACC, you got 3 weeks left. Anything can happen, and you can just as easily find yourself in Charlotte playing for the ACC title. So, and Isaac Brown could be back for Kentucky, would be back for the ACC title game as long as he's going to, as long as he's good to go. So that's I really, really believe that we can win this game. We just Miller has to turn the light switch on, and that's it.
Jeremy, where can people follow you? Where can they find all your content, all your work, bud?
Well, they can follow me at Jeremy_CSZ. The website is at Card Sport Zone on the Twitter machine. CardinalSportsZone.com is the website. We have shows every night before football games on Fridays when the football games are on Saturdays. We're on Friday nights at 10:05 p.m. When they're on Fridays, we're on Thursday nights at 8 p.m. And then we have our regular post and recap Sunday shows at 6 p.m. So it's a good time. We have a lot of fun. We make fun of Sean. We make light of bad situations, and it's a good time.
Awesome. Appreciate you, man. I will link the channel and the show in the description. Thanks for hanging out, man. Good luck on Saturday or Friday.
Hey,
on Friday.
And also we got the Cats in basketball tonight. So let's get them.
Fingers crossed.
20-point win.
Let's go. We got Florida. So hopefully we 2-0 for us tonight.
I love it. Let's do it.